We're about to bring my hardwood floors back to life, hopefully. I was lucky enough to have hardwood floor throughout all 3 of the bedrooms in my house, but they just need a little bit of refinishing. Admittedly, I should have done a better job of masking off when I did the painting, but I knew I was refinishing them and I didn't think it would be a big deal. We're about to find out if it is though. Out of all 3 rooms, this one is the worst. It has this stain over here that I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get out or not. It also has that little like half moon thing. We're gonna try our best. Worst case, you know, it could go for one of those nice big area rugs underneath the bed. Another big thing you guys might notice is that all of the rooms, actually the whole house except for the bathrooms, had baseboard registers, which are like those big triangle looking things that come off the baseboard onto the floor. I did not like that. I think it's outdated in my personal opinion, so I wanted to move it to floor registers. So this was a whole nother project we just did recently. Basically, the register was back here. So we cut this plank out, pulled the register this way. Luckily, it had a little bit of movement, enough for us to do that little tiny maneuver. Secured it here, and then filled this part with hardwood floor. So there is 2 little lines on the side. However, when the baseboard, I have thicker baseboards, comes on here, there's only like this little tiny bit that shows. So I'm not too worried about it. Yes, the proper way to have done this would have been to replace the entire plank. But like I said, when you put the baseboard on and then the actual register cover sticks out as well, there is just like barely any of the line showing. So I think it will be fine. I mean, it's not really every day that you go into a room and you look at the little crack behind a floor register. Like you tell me when the last time you did that was. So I rented this bad boy from Home Depot. Never used one of these before, but we're going to figure it out. Gonna start with 36 grit. I already know this is gonna be a shit show. Like, I'm fully aware of that. Just how big of a shit show is the real question. There's a lot of different information online, so it's kind of hard to develop my sequence. So I'm doing what I thought out of all the videos and information that I grasped would work best, which is 36, 60, 100. Apparently you could skip a grit, so I don't have to do 80. I bought 80 just in case, but you could skip it apparently. Also, a lot of different information on what stains and finishes to go. Some people swear by Bona, other people hate Bona. Some people say Minwax and Duraseal. They're the same company, but Duraseal's for floor, Minwax is for furniture and stuff, but there's people that have been in flooring for 30 years and use only Minwax. So there's a lot of like he says, she says going on, and I'm just gonna do what I feel that I'm gonna do, like what I'm able to get my hands on, what I'm able to do. I'm not expecting this to be like super professional finish. I understand that I've never done this before. I'm hoping that it comes out good though. I'm hoping it looks better than it is. And worst case, I like waste whatever, 500 or 700 bucks by the time this is all done with the stain and everything. And I end up just having to buy more vinyl, which is what I'm putting throughout the rest of the house, and just do the rooms. I was hoping to have hardwood floor in the rooms and then the vinyl throughout the house. So that's worst case. If it turns out like absolute garbage, we can always cover it up. But let's hope we don't have to. I will admit I am a bit nervous to use this guy. I'm going to give it a shot on the floor out here since this is getting covered up anyway. And yeah, I think I'll get the hang of it once I do a couple passes and get used to the machine. But those initial passes are definitely gonna be a little nerve-wracking. This is what we want to avoid. I left it for a second too long before I moved, so I got a drum mark. It grabs a little, so you have to kind of like hold it back to not take you. Stuff like this, I'm pretty sure we still have to get out. It's got to look all more so like that, I think. I'm already feeling a little better. Like after getting those first couple passes in, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. So definitely the biggest thing is to freaking make sure you are moving when you start it. And I feel like the drum marks It's easier to like lift it up as you're walking forward, but starting it on the pullback is gonna be the trickiest part. I think that's how I got that first drum mark. So I'm actually moving through it pretty quickly and I'm feeling a little bit more confident about only having the machine for one day. Most of it is cleaning up pretty good. There's some spots that are not coming out. That first coat took us an hour and a half, which is honestly not that bad. I thought it might have taken longer. It is pretty good. Obviously the edge has to be done with the different machine, but I went over these spots that you see like darker parts multiple times and it isn't coming out. It sucks about that big stain and that one also. So for some reason this white is like, it's I don't know, it just doesn't come off. So hopefully it at least picks up stain because that would be a really, really odd white spot. There's another little one over here. So I don't know if it's just like lighter wood or, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. The rest of it though looks pretty good in my inexperienced opinion. The closets did not do well. I believe there must have been like a huge leak here. They used to have the washer dryer in this room for some reason and it just, luckily it's in the closet so I don't really care, but it is like not coming out. It should be all hidden and it will be fine. All right, next room. Guys, sorry, my battery died. But so far, this is going, knock on drywall, swimmingly. Got the second room done. This room didn't have any of those big stains. We do have a couple over here that I couldn't get out. Like, I don't know what this stuff is, but couldn't get those out. But for the most part, I think it came out pretty good. So I am putting a new 36 grit on per room. I don't necessarily think I have to, but I just want to give each room the best, you know, the best chance for success. If we're looking at these, this was from the first room. It was a little bit more used, but it is definitely still rough. And then the second one, this is the second room, and it has even more grit on it. I just put a new one on for the third room anyway. You know, it's 13, 14 bucks, whatever. Hopefully I never have to do this again in this house. So, yeah. I am almost done with the master. Each room is taking me about an hour 15, an hour and a half. And for your reference, if you ever do this, they're about 140, 150 square feet. So keep that in mind. And each board is getting probably like at a minimum 6 to 8 passes because I'm going in the same line forward and backwards 2 times. If I still see something, I go over it more 1 or 2 times before I move over like about a plank. I'm probably doing a little less, I'm sorry, a little bit more than 50% overlap. So then I'll move over a plank and I'll go that strip like 2 times, you know, more if I see something, and then I'll move over. So they really are getting a lot of passes at the 36. Is done. This one also came out pretty good. There's a couple marks, like deeper gouges that I couldn't get out. There's also these weird, like you can kind of see it there, which I'm sure it's going to show up in the stain. I don't know what that could have been, but I don't know. It doesn't come out. I'm going to take a quick little break, go grab me a pub sub, because if not, I won't eat till I'm done, and that would not be good. So then I'll come back and throw on the 60 grit and do it all over again. Come on. Yeah. Let's see if we can get this puppy on here. It takes some finagling. Also, oh, come on. There we go. Beautiful. Well, I guess it's time to get this show on the road. I don't think you could really tell on camera because I could barely tell in person. It does look like it's kind of evening it out a little bit more, I guess, is kind of what I would say maybe is what's happening. But you can't really see it, so I'm just not even gonna video this. Catch you at the end of 60. Hey-o. 60 is done on all 3 rooms. So this line that I pointed out earlier, it got rid of, or at least blended in. You can still see it very little here and right there, but it helped blend it in a lot, surprisingly. I guess, you know, the finer grit sandpaper. It is still a bit rough, so I'm hoping when I put the 100 on the buffer that it helps smooth that all out a bit more and get rid of any last little stuff we have. If not, I might end up going a little higher, maybe 120, 150. For once, I'm leaving here at a decent hour. It's 7 p.m., I know. So far, the floors, with the exception of the one room and the stain that we couldn't get out, are actually looking better than I thought. I'm sure there's something that you could put. I think I was watching a video on somebody who used hydrogen peroxide, maybe. I didn't really watch it in depth to see, but I'm just gonna leave it. The previous owner did have a dog, so it's probably dog pee. All right, I changed my mind. I am going to give this a shot. I have today to figure it out because I'm not staying until tomorrow and I want to let it dry overnight. If I can just get it lighter, I think we'll be okay. It's just so freaking dark. Got one of these guys. Really work it in there. So I've just been periodically coming back and applying more of the hydrogen peroxide, scraping it a little bit more, and I have these rags on here now, just laid over the top of it, like soaked. This looks real bad when it's all wet like this. I also did some sample staining here last night, so sneak peek, this is the vinyl plank that's going in the rest of the house. I wanted to kind of try to match it a little bit better. This one matches pretty good, although I must say it was lighter yesterday, and then this morning when I did the second coat, I think I let it sit a little too long and it didn't really wipe off much, which is something I definitely have to pay attention to when I'm doing the actual floors, because that could literally ruin everything. So the difference here, these are both classic gray water-based stains. The difference is this is the semi-transparent one, and then this is the solid one. Which is kind of weird because I know it looks like they are flipped around, so I don't know why that is, but anyway, they do. Also, I was doing some more research and I was gonna do the semi-transparent because I read that they penetrate into the wood more than solid, which solid is kind of just like an over the top of it. But then I was reading that Minwax, I always want to call it Minwax, even their water-based stains are penetrating, or so it says on their like standard blob at the back of the cans. Right there, Minwax solid color stain, this penetrating water-based stain. As a standalone, I prefer this one. I do feel this one matches better, but I also feel that this one is going to hide the stains and whatnot, more blemishes, because it's dark. So I've decided to go with this one. Last night I was pretty set that I was gonna go semi-transparent. I don't know, I'm not liking it. I think the rooms will look better in the darker. Anyway, it is time to rock out with this edger around all of the rooms. I'm going to give it a whirl in the closet first, just because I don't really care if I mess something up in there. And yeah, I got 36 grit and 60 grit for the edger as well, which is the same thing I did for the main part of the floor. However, I was also reading, some people said you don't even need to do 36 on this, but I don't think the 60 is gonna, I think I'll be here all day with the 60 if I'm trying to take off that. And I'm trying to return this puppy in 4 hours, so we're throwing the 36 on there anyway. Okay. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with the hydrogen peroxide method. So with the lighter stains, it definitely is super helpful. All those spots that I had here, freaking gone. You can see like a couple little ones here. I really don't think that's gonna affect anything. That was the only thing really in this room that was a little bit off. So now this room is overall, I think, pretty good. I still have hydrogen peroxide on here because the stain is still there. This one though is pretty much freaking gone. I mean, if you could kind of see the outline of it here, and it shows up more in camera than you actually see it in real life. Like, if I wasn't looking for it, I don't think I would, like if I didn't know it was there, I don't think I would see it. This guy, it definitely lightened it up, but obviously it was still stained. So I figured why not just soak it up some more, give it another round, get it as light as possible before it's time. I know a lot of people use the scraper and scrape the corners, which I got one just in case it doesn't work, but I picked up a little attachment for my Milwaukee. I call this a butter knife. And hopefully, well, this one fits perfectly in here, but also I got one that has like a little tiny piece. So, well, that's just gonna live in there, I guess. Hello? That was by far the worst part of the job. That sucked. Very nice, very nice. I just noticed a big issue. The sander is leaving like half little semicircles, but only where the edger was. You see him? But then there's nothing on the main floor. Both of them were finished with 60. So I just did this little section that had a bunch of chars on it just like that. I did it in 80, just where the edger was, to see if now I pass over it again. Maybe with the edger going from the 60 to 100 is too big of a jump for it. I don't know. We were doing so good, guys. Doing so good, but the shit show has officially started. And of course, today was the day that I rushed to get the edger back in 4 hours, when if I would have just still had it here, I could have probably solved this problem. I think what happened is that I didn't go high enough on the grit with the edger. I thought I could just match what I did with the floor, but I don't think so. I don't know if that's stronger or what, but with the swirls, it was creating dips, and then this guy screening at 100 was showcasing all of those dips and valleys. So I went into a bit of a panic, but I went back to Home Depot and kind of brainstormed a little bit and got 60 is the last thing that I did on the edger and the floor. So I got a 60 sanding pad for the buffer, although I know it's not as, I don't think it's as strong as the edger, but my plan, like thinking I can go over the edger to blend it into the floor, right? To blend that path in, and then go to 80, probably over the entire floor, because then I don't want to have the backwards issue where the edge is good and the floor is not. So 80 over the whole thing, and then I can do the 100 screen and the 120 screen. So I tested it over here where we were having those big marks. It has a couple little bumps in there. I'm guessing obviously that's from the edger. I wasn't paying attention to that because it looked fine, but I guess it was going maybe too hard. Yeah, it's gonna be a late one. It's 8:40. I thought I would have been wrapping up pretty soon here, but this definitely just set me way freaking back. It is what it is. At least I caught it in the beginning before I did the whole floor and then said, hey, what are these things, you know? But yeah, I'm not gonna film anymore tonight, so I'll catch you tomorrow whenever I hopefully am able to stain. We are back. Last night I was here till 2:30 in the morning, getting everything situated as best as I could after my edger error. So I ended up getting the 60 sanding disc on the buffer and going over all of the areas where the edger was to try to bring that as flat as possible. I think what happened was two things actually. One, I didn't go high enough grit on the edger. I stopped at 60 like I stopped with the floor. Two, I probably shouldn't have done 36 like a lot of people said. I would have just had to take my time a little bit more with the 60 to get off those layers, but I probably wouldn't have gouged the floor as much. So I didn't notice while I was doing it, but it looks like some areas are a little bit wavy because I guess also something I should have looked up more. I think those edgers like feather depending on how you're using it. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just all like a flat surface. So it looks like some areas where I used a part of the edger were good, and then it kind of dips a little and then comes back out. Again, I think this was me. I didn't feel the floor before, so I don't know if it was like that. I'm pretty sure it was probably me though. I did water pop the floor last night as well to hopefully help hide some of the smaller scratches. So anyway, I did 60 to blend in the pattern from the edger and the drum sander and try to flatten down those edger marks as much as I could. And then I went to 80 on the buffer as well, and I did the entire floor because I stopped at 60 with the drum sander as well. So I did 80 on all the floors. And then I switched to 100 screen, and I did 100 screen on all the floors. And then finally I did 120 screen on all the floors, and it was smooth at the end. And then I did a water pop, and now it's rough, which is the point, I'm pretty sure, because it raises the grain again. From my understanding, it raises the grain so that way the wood will accept the stain better. It will also help with evening out the color, and it also helps like reduce some of the lighter blemishes and scuff marks. We'll see. I don't know how much is gonna show up when you stain. I know the darker stains are supposed to show more. I don't know how much more. I don't know how intense this is going to be, or if, you know, I'm overthinking this a little bit and little stuff like that is just going to blend in. The good thing is that most edges and stuff are usually covered with furniture, right? You got the bed, 2 nightstands, a dresser. That covers a lot of surface area. So now for the stain dilemma. So we are going water-based stain, and the thing with water-based stain, why it says it's not recommended for larger projects like floors, is because it dries super quick, so I can get lap lines. That is my biggest concern with this guy, is trying to be thoughtful about how I put it on, where I put it on, where I kind of keep wet edges and do my best not to get lap lines, or at the very least get them where it kind of looks natural. My attempt is going to be to do a couple strips at a time and go all the way down the room. This can really go south really, really quickly. All right, it's not horrendous. You see the lines a little bit, mostly because it's a little lighter. I think I am wiping it off too hard. I'm gonna try to just wipe it off rather than like rub it off, and hopefully that helps a bit. I don't think I completely butchered it. All the different lighting right now is really throwing it off. But working with those rows for the lap lines, I think seemed to work. Gets a little iffy twice here, which again, it picks it up more on camera than you could actually see it in person, because I had to work my way out, and the only way to do that was to make a line. So I have to see if I could do that maybe a better way. The stain isn't terrible, still gonna get a carpet, but it's not too bad. And then obviously that is what you definitely don't want. Thank goodness it's on the line where the track goes. That's also why I started in the room that was already messed up, just so I could kind of trial and error a little bit. And I do think that I got a little bit better and smoother as I came down the rows this way. I gotta say, I am not too thrilled right now, guys. This is not coming out how I anticipated. It just looks a lot browner than the little sample that I did out there. I mean, it looks completely brown. It doesn't really look like it has a tinge of gray, in my opinion, at all. And then the sample out here, like, I don't know, it had an undertone of gray more so than the brown. I don't know if the water pop is what made it do that, because it makes the color richer, but I thought, you know, maybe more gray. I was contemplating putting the semi-transparent coat over, but then I was reading it's like meant to penetrate into the wood, so it might not adhere very good to the solid. So I X that out. Now I'm thinking about potentially doing a lighter solid color as the second coat, but that could be bad. Because, you know, like when you're doing the second coat of the same color, it kind of helps blend stuff. But if the second coat of a different color does it, I don't know, it could just be a disaster. Currently, it's definitely looking like a DIYer's project here. I mean, I guess it could be going worse. I'm gonna do the master and then I'm gonna head to the store and just check out the colors and see what I decide. Maybe pick up a couple to put over that sample, even though the sample doesn't match the room, and kind of just see what happens to it. I don't know. Well, it's still brown in this room too. It also looks way more blotchy in camera than in person. I don't know if our eyes don't pick it up as well, but it looks super blotchy on camera and it's not that bad in person. However, I can't freaking figure out how to get out of the room because I have to, you see, that one is a lap mark right there. I have to try to get out of this path, right? And I have to be quick to not get this to dry, but in wiping it off, you see this is too light. I need to go apply more here now. But I can't get over there because it's all wet, so I don't really quite understand how to get out of this room, and I have to think about it to do the second coat better and try to, I don't know, hide it better because you could clearly see that this row is lighter. Honestly, they aren't terrible. They're definitely not the color I intended. I was expecting more gray within them, but I'm not gonna put another different color on top. I was going to, but that might just make things worse. So I am gonna just do a second coat of the same stuff because my only goal with the second coat is just to help hopefully even the floors out a bit, take care of a little bit of the blotchiness, hopefully help like some of the areas that I do have lap lines and just kind of blend everything in a little bit better. I don't see no classic gray. I see freaking brown. That's what I see. I see a whole lot of brown. For the second coat though, I picked up a foam roller because I'm going to try that as the application method instead. Maybe I can get it like a little bit wetter to keep the wet edge wet. I don't know. I've never applied stain like this before, so you know, what better time to try it than on floors that I just spent a week sanding. But we're gonna just do it because why the heck not, you know? And yeah. I just stopped in the middle of this room. Second coat was not the move. That was a freaking terrible idea. I think I definitely screwed up this first floor. It just doesn't freaking rub off on the second coat. It like, I don't know, it just does not want to come off. So I'm trying to find out what I could sand it down with. You know what probably would have been the move? To just sand the floor down and then just have paid somebody that knows what they're doing to properly stain and seal the floor. That would have probably been a fantastic idea. But no, instead we're here with this freaking disaster. I just spent like the last 2 hours hand Picassoing the master bedroom and the other bedroom and just literally touching up any areas that I felt I needed to blend better. Like wherever the lines were, things like that, I kind of tried to feather them out so it wasn't like so obvious. I think it's kind of okay. I don't think it looks absolutely horrendous. I'm sorry if you guys are floor people and you know this, I'm sure doesn't look great to you, but I don't think it's terrible, and I think once the finishes are on there and the baseboards and all that stuff, it will be okay. However, that being said, if this is something that I had paid a professional to do, I probably wouldn't be happy with it. But then again, I'm not a professional, so I don't know why I expected, you know, my first time refinishing hardwood floors to come out like a professional job. Never mind, that's gonna just take me way too freaking long. I'm gonna have to just spend more money and get the machine again. I need to learn to just stop working when I can't see. Had it been brighter, maybe on the first row I would have noticed like, hey, I can't really see the wood grain in this anymore. I should probably stop. In other news, it does look like some gray is starting to pop out in this. It's looking better, I think. I don't know. I could just be looking at this now compared to the other room and feeling a little better about it. Okay, see you later. This is as good as we're gonna get it without taking it down with the drum sander. And I also don't want to go back to 36 grit. I'm going to be completely honest. I think blending this in is going to be a nightmare and a half, but that is going to be a problem for me in a couple of hours. So at this point, I'm no longer staining. This has now become handcrafted artwork. I'm having to literally like feather out areas and try to just blend it all in. This is gonna be just to get the color realm matching this, and then I have to do the same thing I did with the other rooms, go back and kind of like touch up some of the lighter spots and whatnot. I gotta say, I am really not having a good time. At first, this project started out kind of fun, you know, a little tedious, but it wasn't bad. And now it is just straight up not a good time. I was talking to my mom about trying to continue to blend this, and she was just like, well, wouldn't it be better if you just started from the beginning? Which I knew that was the answer, I just really didn't want to do it. So, yeah, I guess you could always count on your mom to make you do what's right. So here we are with the drum sander. We're starting this room over from scratch, which freaking sucks because I was planning to seal today, but I guess my new goal for the day will just be to get this room sanded and stained and hopefully looking a little closer to the other rooms. Not that those look great, but whatever. Yeah, hopefully this works because I'm not doing it a third time. So it either works and it looks great, 2, it looks okay and it just stays as is, or 3, I just end up covering it up because I'm freaking over it. Super duper fun. I just water popped it, so I'm gonna let that dry while I go get everything returned. And then I guess we'll give it another go. I am freaking nervous. All right, we're done. Still drying, but at least now we're in the same not so great not so great looking as the other 2 rooms. This is the last row I did, that's why it's still kind of dark, but all of these previously were like that too, so it's just drying. So I'm gonna let it settle in overnight, let the wood soak up all the good stuff, and then in the morning I will do the second coat touch-ups instead of second coat like I did to the other 2 rooms, and hopefully that will work. I don't freaking know. But at least this is looking a lot better than that second coat, I think. Well guys, I really don't understand what the heck is going on with this room. Of freaking course, the last row I did exactly like I did all the other ones, and it dried freaking darker. So now I have to kind of blend this with the rest of them. Finally getting in better shape here. So once this dries, I'm gonna go back once more and just hit like some small blending spots, not do the whole floor like I just did. That last time I really had to like feather it out and be more intentional with like putting it in the lighter spots first and then lightly coating the rest of it and then wiping it off, and like, I don't know, it's just been a freaking disaster. This room is really making me work for it. It is time to seal these other rooms. It is what it is. I'm not sanding them all the way down, so this is how it's gonna be, you know? Maybe in the next 5 years or 10 years or something, I don't know. I'm not sanding it down again, so this is what we're going with. For the sealer, we're going to be using Bona Clear Seal. This is, I guess, their new clear product, which shouldn't affect the color. It's also water-based, and I'm going to put it on with a roller application. I tacked the floor to hopefully minimize any of the extra stuff on there, because, you know, we have enough things fighting against us on this project. Let's not add a lint into it. It's already starting to dry. They did say it kind of goes on a little cloudy looking and then dries clear, so we'll see how that goes. But I think overall it went on pretty easily. Sealers are done in all the rooms. We are back, guys. Last night I put a coat of Traffic HD on all of the floors so that way they could dry overnight. And today I just got to sand them down with 220 and then do the last final coat and let it cure for 3 days. So this is what they are looking like with the first coat. And then in the master, I was actually in the process of cutting the baseboards. However, I stopped. I wanted to do them all so that way I could paint them while the floors were curing. But of course, they're gonna need extra work. Look at this. So it's flush over here and then gap, 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 and then goes back over there. So they're gonna have to be scribed to not look so freaking ugly. Got these little bad boys. I don't wanna push too hard because I don't wanna mess up the floor. But let's see if we can just get it to yeehaw. At least they're not on the wall anymore. Also, I'm gonna show you guys something else because it is what it is. This is definitely not one of my best projects, so I might as well show you guys stuff that I screwed up on. So if you try to do it yourself, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes I did. So if I catch the light over here in the master, right there, you see these little, it's like little waviness. That is from the edger. I know you're probably saying like, why were you all the way out there with the edger? And that's because I didn't know it was going to do that. I thought that the edger was just going to blend seamlessly into the drum sander with the same grit. That's what I thought. Clearly that it doesn't happen, you know, it doesn't, I don't know, it takes off more, I don't know what the heck happens, but it does not blend into the drum sander like that. So had I known that, I obviously wouldn't have gone out so far, but I didn't know that then, you know, like if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, then things would have been different, but they're not. Definitely got to do more research on how to use the edger better and the proper way for it to feather, so that way you can stay nice and tight to the border and not completely screw everything up. So I got this little 9-inch radial sander. I put a 220 disc on there. I am using Bona Traffic HD commercial satin for the finish. So it comes with 2 parts. You got to mix the hardener in there, and then I'm gonna let it sit and tack while it like settles for 10 minutes. Got all these bad boys painted yesterday. That was a ton of fun. Picked up some of this stuff too. It was something Jason found that you put it behind the baseboards just a little bit and it kind of keeps the bugs away. Finally got everything done. Baseboards are in, floor is done. This is what we're sticking with. The baseboards aren't perfect just because of some of the gaps in the thing. I tried to fix some of them, but I'm trying to make a new house out of an old house, and you know, that doesn't always work. The floors obviously didn't come out how I intended them to come out, but it is what it is. I mean, there was a point after the stain, after the sealer, the first sealer coat, well, I only did one sealer coat, but after the sealer coat, I was seriously contemplating sanding everything down again and starting from the beginning, because I think where I really went wrong, I mean, I went wrong in numerous different spots, but what definitely went wrong, I think, was choosing the solid stain. I know that I read solid stain is more like paint, but when I did it on the sample out there, it didn't look like solid. I still saw the wood grain coming through, so I don't know. I thought it would look how the sample looked. The only thing I could think of that might have changed that is by water popping, because I didn't water pop the sample area, so it made it a little bit darker here. However, coming from the error that we did in the other room, I think overall it came out okay. It's definitely not a professional job or something to like be super excited about. Yeah, kind of bummed that it didn't come out as great as I wanted, but it's growing on me, whatever. I think it'll be fine once all the furniture's in and everything, you know, most of the floor gets covered anyway. It also depends on where you are in the room with how it looks. Like, it's brighter, obviously, in the sunlight and more brown. And then, you know, if you're looking at the room this way, you're getting more of the wood grain, which you don't see none of this. This looks a little better this way, like you see more of the variations in the wood grains. Whereas from the angle of the start of the room, you can't really see the dimension. I don't know how to describe it. Another thing I did is I had 4K lights in here. I just switched them to 5K to mimic daylight a little bit more, since I was liking the colors that was coming through the sunlight more than the warmer tones, and also to try to bring out some of the gray rather than the browns. I think this might be a little bit too white. It's definitely not bad. I prefer this over the orange one, but I'm gonna try to see if I can find like a middle 4500K. And yeah, see how that works. But yeah, like over here, I feel like it doesn't look horrendous. I don't know. I also feel like it looks better in person than it does on the camera. I am excited that I was able to get the vents to the floor. That is a big plus there, because those baseboard vents were not it. The second room, same thing. Looks this way from here, if my camera would focus. But then if you're this way, you get a lot more of the, like the wood grains coming through and whatnot. I don't know, man. Definitely not my best work. And the third room, I actually already got the bed in. Check out this bed, guys. Not too bad. 150 bucks on Amazon. We'll see how it holds up, but I will put all my Amazon links down in the description below under the house link. I actually really like the color, and yeah, I have a nightstand coming, and the dresser is actually here as well. I just haven't had time to build it, and I gotta go again. So yeah, this room was the room that we royally screwed up. Considering what it looked like, I think we are doing a little bit better here, but same thing, got the vent to go on the floor. So there it is, guys. I ruined my hardwood floor. Could be worse, could be definitely better. This is 100% not my best work. I would try it again, knowing what I know now. Probably wouldn't try it in like a main area with a lot of floor space. I think I need a little bit more practice before I tackle that job, and I would also probably try a new stain. I really liked applying the Bona product. It was super easy to use, in my opinion, so I would consider using their stain for the next project, whenever that comes about. I don't know, maybe that would help out the overall result. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.